Jeff, thanks again for inviting me to speak here tonight at your seminar series. Thank all of you for coming out on such a cold night here. Once again, my name is PJ Naughton. I'm a marketing consultant, and I focus on small businesses and internet marketing. This is something I really enjoy. The combination of working with small business owners and promoting their goods or services on the internet, to me, is a lot of fun. It's almost like a hobby. It's something that totally motivates me. An example of what I do here, just recently a good friend of mine decided to quit his full-time job back in August. He had a wife and 2 kids. In the midst of this bad economy, he decides to quit the job and start up his own machine shop. Probably maybe economically the worst time to do it, but he was ready for it. So he gave me a call and he says, PJ, I was wondering if you could help me out here. I'm starting up my own machine shop. What advice do you have for me for marketing my services here? I have a few customers, but I'm going to need to grow the business and get more customers. He says, what do you recommend? I said, well, Dave, I highly recommend what you do here is promote your business on the internet. It'll be the most cost-effective, best bang for your buck. He says, okay, sounds good. I said, do you have a website? And he said, no. He says, I'm just starting off from scratch here. So I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do here. If you like, you could use me. I'll set you up with a basic website here. But I'll make sure it's optimized for the search engines, because everybody, just about everybody I know, if you're going to research something to buy or a service to use, you do a little research on Google and Yahoo first. So he says, hey, I'm sold, and he says, let's get on it. I said, sure thing. So about 2 months later, I was finished with the website there and everything, and I gave him a call. I said, Dave, everything's about ready to go here. And he asked me, he says, hey, I like the site and everything. He says, but am I showing up in Google? I said, well, let's check it out. And I said, let's type in a keyword phrase that we think that people are looking to find your company. And so we did it, and sure enough, he came on. That first phrase we checked out, we came on the front page of Google, the #1 page. Now this was a surprise to me though too, okay? Because I wasn't ready for the optimization, because usually it could take up to 90, 120 days. We had just, this was like within a month after the site was completed. And on top of it, I never even submitted that site to Google, okay? And I'll explain how they index it a little bit later. So you should have seen, the surprise in his voice, how excited he was to know that, hey, his company was somebody now because Google knew who he was. Not only for that one phrase, but it was about 5 other phrases. Okay? So I tell you what, this was really exciting. It was very rewarding, It's because he was excited, and all of a sudden his company was marketed, and he didn't really have to spend a lot of money doing it here. Okay? For some of you small business owners out there, or even medium-sized businesses, there's a lot of tools out there that you could use yourself to help market your business. And one of them, if you have a website, is getting your website optimized. So basically, when you optimize your website, you're setting up your site so it's found in the Google, Yahoo, and Bing search engines. Those are the 3 main ones. And Google is the most important one, because that's probably 70% of the market out there today, is Google. So when you optimize your site, there's a couple of things that you could do. Okay? Think about how somebody's going to be researching your product or your service that you supply, and put those keywords into your website. Very basic. Okay? The second thing that you want to do, okay, is get a lot of inbound links into your website. That's how Google decides what site is relevant to that search, is how many people link in. The more sites that link into your website, the better Google thinks your website is for that respective search. But those sites the sites that link in, they have to be relevant to your site. So if you're a graphics company, you should have links coming in from maybe different trade publications that are related to graphics, for example. And also, the next thing that you have is what's called tags. Meta tags, title tags. You got to have those correct words tagged in the title of your website. Maybe, once again, using graphics. If you're a large format company, a graphic format company, have that in your title tag. And then the other thing that you might want to do, if you have pictures that illustrate your goods or services, title those pictures as well. Now, what Google, Yahoo will do, though, is when you type in a keyword search, there's only 10 slots available. So you're competing for one of those 10 slots on the first page. And if you're a new company, guess what? For some of the more competitive words, you probably will not show up right away, okay? Because that word is too competitive. But there's still hope here, okay? Google and Yahoo and Bing also have what's called pay-per-click advertisements. Okay, so on the pay-per-click advertisements, if you can't get on that front page, what you could do is you could tell Google or Yahoo, hey, I want to pay to have my advertisement on the right-hand side of that page. So what you could do is you could set up an account with Google and say, hey, I want to spend maybe, just going to use the number, $500 a month, and I want to spend $500 worth of Google ads, okay? And I want those ads to show up for certain words that I think when somebody's looking for my company, okay, these are the words that they'll type into the search engine, okay? So what you'll do next then is you'll create an ad, and when that word comes up, depending on how much you want to pay for that ad, will decide what page it comes up, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 of the Google search. So to be in the front position, guess what? You have to outbid everybody else. Okay. You'll have to outbid everybody else. So if the top bid is $2 for that word, okay, to get the top spot, you'll have to bid $2.01. If you bid $3 and the top bid was $2, you'll only get charged $2.01. Now here's the beauty about pay-per-click advertisements, okay? You only get charged when somebody clicks on that ad. So if your ad were to show up 1,000 times, okay, within that month and nobody clicked on it, well, they'll see your ad 1,000 times, but you never got charged. But you do want people to click on your advertisement. So you want to entice them by some value within that ad. Say, hey, is this what you're looking for? We have what you're looking for, and use that keyword in your ad that's coming up in the Google search. So when a person clicks on the ad, normally they'll go to your website. The next best thing to do is when they do that, is have a form in there that says, hey, if you're looking for, I'll say something like left-handed monkey wrenches, okay? Here's the form to fill out to order the wrench, okay? So pay-per-click advertisement is a short-term solution if you cannot get your keyword into Google free search. Another thing that small businesses could do today to help promote their website is join the social media networks. Okay, as far as social media, you have Facebook, you have LinkedIn, you have Twitter, you have YouTube, and see if I forget one. Okay. Pardon me? MySpace is a bad neighborhood. You don't want to go to MySpace. Okay. I don't even go there. Okay. But with these free social media networks today, it's a nice way of promoting your business, and it's free. Facebook has a fan page where you could set up company information, and people could just join and follow you, and they don't have to be invited. LinkedIn is great for businesses. It's basically like an online resume. You could put your website in there and link it back to your you could put a link of your website in there, so if a person wants more information, they could click on the hyperlink. YouTube is another one. If you have a technical product that maybe that needs a video illustration to describe your product, YouTube's a great solution for it. The nice thing about all these social media sites, they're all indexed by the Google, Yahoo, and Bing search engines. Another thing to use today to promote your small business is e-newsletters. Okay, so if you have a database of customers, this is a nice way of keeping in touch with your customers, sending them out a monthly newsletter. There's two ways of sending out a newsletter. You could just use Outlook and just use plain text, or maybe many of you have seen a newsletter called Constant Contact. Okay, it's a very popular HTML-based newsletter, which is the nice. You'll have colored graphics, colored background. You got maybe a choice of 100 different templates to use. You put in your company logo, then you put in your text, and you can send out a newsletter. So that's a nice way of keeping in touch with people today. And blogging is another nice feature too. There's a free blog site out there today called Blogspot. It's owned by Google. So if you wanted to go set up your own blogging site, you could do it tomorrow by setting it up with Google. And that's a nice way of, hey, whatever you're selling, whatever you're promoting, or whatever you want to help somebody with, you could blog about it, tell people about it. And one of the best ways to have people follow you is to provide helpful information there. Unfortunately, in this industry that I'm in, there's plenty of what's called black hat people. Okay, black hat means that they're not ethical people. A lot of SEO companies out there will tell you, hey, we'll give you pay us X amount of dollars per month and we'll get you top spot. We guarantee you that we'll get you top spot for this most competitive word. The fact is, nobody could promise you a top spot for a competitive word. It's what Google gives you is what you get. Okay? So, unfortunately, you do have companies like that. You also have some companies that'll say, hey, pay us $500 and we'll submit your website to 500 search engines. Okay? Remember my friend's site that I created for him? I never submitted that to Google search. He had a LinkedIn page that he put his a link from his website. Google indexed his LinkedIn page, saw his website, and then crawled his site, and it got indexed by Google. So, unfortunately, you do have some companies like that. I myself, I'm not even remotely tempted. Slow down?
No, it's about time for
About it? Okay, I'll finish it up here. I've never even been remotely tempted to go down that path, probably because of the way I was raised. I was raised by two Irish Catholic parents here, and I idolized my mother and father here. As long as I can remember, they went to daily mass. They were great people. My mother, I mean, she was like the second coming of Mother Teresa. You know, just she purely was. When Kelly was talking about that forgiveness, I was thinking it was my mother. She was always telling me to forgive. You know, she lived it. So you know, recently I had dinner with my father, and he said to me, he said, "Do you pray for your mother?" And I said, "Well, Dad, what for?" He says, "You know, for her soul, it could still be in purgatory." I said, "Dad, she's been dead for 10 years." I was like, if she's in purgatory, we're in trouble. Okay. So in summary, I think a lot of the future of marketing is going towards this internet base. You know, I could see one day where, you know, when you go home from a Sunday Mass and you have that church bulletin, I'm waiting for the day where the church is going to email you that bulletin, and then you're just going to have hyperlinks to all those advertisements in the back. All right, so do I got time for questions?
a couple minutes.
All right, a couple of minutes.
This one.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
You know when sometimes you open, you're on a Google page, and like the top three are in pink.
Yeah.
Is that a are those paid for?
Yeah. Yeah, those are paid advertisements. So what happens on the Google, sometimes Google will, most of their ads are on the right-hand side. There's times where they'll also put it in the top, in the header bar though too, right above the organic or the free search. So those are paid advertisements there.
When they have, like you put in your zip code, if I'm looking for something, a lot of times I'll put in my zip code, plumber, you know, my
Yeah.
zip code. How does that affect?
Because they know what they're doing there is they know your ISP address. Okay, so they know approximately where you're at. Which I think the future of Google is your Google search in Park Ridge is going to be a different Google search from somebody in Southern California, which is going to be a different Google search from somebody in Westmont. Okay? Eventually, I think it's going to get to the point where Google's going to know more about you than your spouse. It's going to happen. Yes, Jim?
Sounds like you're saying that the advertising dollars that a small business should be directing should be mostly in the area of the web.
Well, yes. Yes. For a small business, it helps out there because it's ongoing. Search engine optimization, it's a constant. When you run an ad, it's going to have a shelf life, right? You read the ad, you put it down, and unless you run that ad again, you know, that's the whole thing with advertisements. You got to have deep pockets because one ad is usually not good enough. But with search engine optimization, it goes on forever. Now, that's not to say that you don't have to keep on building your optimization, because you do. You still, because it's kind of like the pay-per-click. You know, somebody's always looking to knock you off the top position there. But it'll last a lot longer than a direct mail piece or a single print ad. Yes?
You talked about adding links to your webpage.
Yes.
Can you just arbitrarily put any links in there, or do you have to get permissions, or how does that work?
Well, two things you want to do is, if you want to put, we're talking about two different things. You have inbound links, okay, which you would probably ask somebody, hey, can you put a link into my website? Or there's directories out there. There's free directories where you would find the free directory that's relevant to your industry, and then there's usually a page in there where you could submit a free link, which could take up to 4 months to show up, or do a paid directory, which will probably show up in less than 30 days. Any more questions? All right, well, I'll be around if you have any more questions. Thank you.